That is a very square microphone.
It is. Everyone always says that. My sister recommended it to me.
Okay.
Doing podcasting back in the day, and here we are now.
Is your
So
sister a big podcaster?
no, she actually she had a podcast. It was probably 2020, like pandemic era, and it was called Endlings, and it was about dead things because that's my sister, and like
Okay.
species dying off. And then it got like too popular, and she freaked out. She like did not. She's a very private, quiet person, so she's like, no, can't do that, and stopped. So
I mean, I guess we're starting now. Should we start? Is that
yeah,
because that was actually kind of interesting. Is it okay if we include that story about your sister?
yeah, I'm sure she'll be fine with that.
Okay. So really quick, I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney, and you are?
Catherine Cosmides, founder and CEO of Garbo, and doing a lot of interesting stuff nowadays. So,
You are. On the topic of podcasts and YouTube channels blowing up too fast, um, I will never be recognized, I'm pretty sure, because I'm like a potato face and it's not gonna be a thing. But I was in a coffee shop in Queens and a very nice gentleman walked up and he was like, you're that guy, right? And I was like, what? Really? Are we doing this right now? This is crazy. And it was a really nice interaction. It's the only time it's ever happened to me. But like,
and he actually, you were that guy in his mind, not just
yep,
some guy. That's cool.
100%.
Celebrity status
Now he is
now.
an attorney, so I think he had like more reason to be aware. But like, yeah. And he basically was like, yeah, I'm started taking employment cases because you make it sound fun. I was like, sick. That we need more
Rad.
employment attorneys desperately. So that's really great. I think he's helping a lot of people. So I really love that. I hope he's listening to this now.
I love that. I love that. I've never been recognized. I have had someone say, have you met Catherine Cosmides before
Oh,
at like a
to you.
conference? And I'm like, yes, to
Wow.
me. And I was like, yeah, I'm that girl. But if you looked at my LinkedIn photo, it's ancient and I look nothing like that. So I feel like I change up my appearance quite often. So that's what keeps it
Okay. Makes sense. For the record, that attorney, I just pulled out his card here because I put it in my wallet. It's Juarez Law PC, and I've heard good things. I can't vouch. I'm not allowed to vouch for any attorney because my insurance company will drop me. But I've heard good things. What I can say. So,
that.
um, all right. So when you introduced yourself, you said you've done many things. You've helped me with many things over the years. We've collaborated.
Same. Yeah,
I feel
you
like
bet.
I've known you 5, 6, 7 years at this point.
It was pre-pandemic. So yeah, right
At
around there.
least five. Yeah.
At least five.
Um, what's the what do you highlight? Because you've done so much.
I'd say the biggest one that I'm most well known for is founding Garbo, which is a tech nonprofit. We were most known for our new kind of online background check, really focused on online dating, but a variety of use cases, which some of them will come up in this conversation, like background checking your bosses, other employees, etc. And it was very popular, helped a lot of people, uh, over 100,000 users, 2.5 million people through our contents. We were quite big on social media. We actually chose to shut it down, that technology down. Garbo still exists, but chose to shut that technology down. And it's crazy. It's been over a year now. It's fall of 2023, for a variety of reasons, a lot with the decline of public record access and the issues with background checks that they don't really want people to know about, um, and the threats from bad actors, people with violent records that wanted us to delete their data, and when we wouldn't, it got a little scary out there. So
Yeah.
for me and my employees. And so, before and after that, I've worked with tons of technology startups, started in B2C, shifted to B2B, sales, marketing, product, go to market, all of those kinds of things, and dabbled in the legal marketing space as well. So I've been very jack of all trades and very like generalist, and that's what I really value in my career the most.
I remember one of our first interactions. I was nervous with Garbo that you were going to out plaintiffs, victims, and I brought that up with you, and you took care. Listen, I don't think you were, or I think I was wrong. My original fear was wrong, but you also were so on top of it and took care of it, and like put time into validating that concern and keeping those people safe in such a meaningful way that I think it led us to do business for off and on years to come because I really trusted you at that point. So I applaud you on that one. Um, we're just basically we have a list of topics today, and I'm now that everybody knows how amazing you are. Where do you want to begin with the thing that you are most known for, which would be is I mean, background checking essentially, but in this context, background checking your employer, your boss, your colleague, all those people who can ruin your life.
That's one way to put it. Yeah. And I don't think we think about that side of it enough, right? So, I think we've all been given the career advice that when you're interviewing somewhere, you should also be interviewing them as well and asking certain questions like in the interview process to get to know the employer. But I think this kind of takes it one step further where in essence, you're getting into bed with this person. Your whole life is now committed to this person, your paycheck, your money, your
Yep.
stability. And especially for small businesses, right? Can definitely have a huge impact if you don't really know. And there's so many laws and information out there about the employment background check process, the FCRA regulated background checks, which usually happen pre-employment, but not really any information out there about what is an employee or contractor or anyone allowed to look up on their boss, their coworkers, the company itself. And I think it can be a really powerful tool in the workers' rights tool belt as you go into the process, or if you start seeing some sketchy things happening in the early days or throughout your experience there. It's definitely beneficial. We could talk a little bit about how to do it, what's out there.
Yeah, I would love to know. I mean, right off the bat, I think most people aren't even taking you up on the starter, the idea that you would background check your boss, your colleagues, right? And I don't understand why, because like, listen, a bad date can be dangerous, but like it probably doesn't impact how you put a roof over your head or like feed your family. So like, I mean, this is very important. My initial thought is people must at least be Googling sometimes. Glassdoor, but Glassdoor is desperately imperfect. How would you go about it?
Right. So an employer is a relationship, right? So it
Yeah.
is how I view it, right? So it's a different kind of relationship, but is a relationship. And I think you started great out with like Googling them. And that's Googling the company, searching the your boss, the owners, and not just looking at what's on page one. We all know that people pay to have their Google results edited, they invest in SEO, things like that. And so looking at the news section is can be really important. Putting the search in
Oh.
quotation marks, right? So if you're searching someone's name, searching with Boolean characteristics like quotation marks, so you'll get real information. Um, the company and the employer's name, executive names themselves, like page 2, 3, 4, 5. Also their previous companies, on LinkedIn, they probably have previous companies that they've worked at or that they've founded. You can also go on, every state has, business registration company or websites, the government websites. So you can look up all of the businesses that someone owns. Most businesses, as we know, or maybe we don't, the audience, but they're founded or in Delaware or licensed in Delaware, incorporated in Delaware. So that's a good place to start. But Nevada is a new place that a lot of people are founding businesses or incorporating them, Texas as well. Um, and you can even look up, the civil docket in your county or the counties that they operate, states that they operate, where are their customers as well. Can be really important. So are they in any lawsuits themselves? What are the claims of those lawsuits if they are? Um, you can probably talk a little bit about, do they have any employment claims against them?
Yeah. So we do as part of we do a lot of things. But you mentioned LinkedIn, so we'll look at the LinkedIn tree, right? The legacy where they've been, and we will hit the pacer of those jurisdictions, searching for their name, but also that employer, depending on like, listen, there's there's a limited amount of time, but if you have like a case that you think is a seven-figure case, you're going to hit all the cases and skim all the cases for that employer for that period in that area, trying to see if like this person, usually a guy, if we're being honest, is implicated in any of those. I worked on a case recently where we ended up getting a hit. The guy who's like an alleged serial rapist, we got a hit that like that his son's tutor placed a complaint against him um for sexual harassment. Like he like came to pick up his kid and he was like putting the moves on the tutor. The tutor was like, got enough, had enough of your shit. He's like not like supposed to come into the tutoring classes anymore, and that was, listen, does that mean he definitely sexually harassed somebody or sexually assaulted somebody in the workplace? No, it's not one to one. It's not proof, but it is a pattern, I mean, that's a pattern of behavior. So where you can get the criminal stuff, and that can be harder, but sometimes you got to pay the private investigator. I'm not I'm not saying you taking a job, person watching this video should go hire a PI, but also listen, if you're taking a job and it's for 500,000 or more a year and depends on one or two people, it might not be the worst idea in the world to discreetly inquire with a professional, you know? I mean, with that kind of earning potential, you do need to take steps to protect it.
Very good point. And I think that even on smaller scale roles within a company, which are often more vulnerable, right, to experiencing harm, especially if they're different classes, women, people of color,
Yep.
LGBTQIA plus individuals. Um, you can even ask to speak to the person who was in the job before. You can ask to talk to customers of theirs and kind of make sure you can kind of go in the background. And rather than asking the company itself, because they're going to, of course, show you the best employee and the best customers to put you in front of, just checking around, poking around their LinkedIn, right? Who are their connections? Reaching out to one of those connections to say, what do you know about this person? Are they a part of any industry associations that maybe you could reach out to? So there's different ways to just double check to see what the employer is without having to pay anyone. But there definitely can be that step, especially if it's they're background checking you and looking into all of these things about you. You should have the right and opportunity to do the same.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not, again, private investigators, like good ones can be very expensive, and I'm not realistically saying go hire a PI, but that price point, you spend 8 grand, 10 grand, you've got to be careful you don't get their text messages because that, PI, like you'll get they'll turn, they're like, look what I got you. You're like, whoa, that's a crime. Don't, no, didn't, didn't ask for that. Um, but I guess if you're not an attorney, maybe you don't care as much. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's incredible. Excuse me. Excuse me. I think it's so powerful. And then that would have such a impact on the market in terms of bad repeat offenders being unable to obtain talent in the marketplace, right? Like that would probably be a real market force, a real motivation to be better, even if you're a monster.
Well, two things popped in my head there. One, you mentioned Glassdoor earlier. There's a new app called Blind,
Oh,
which is pretty helpful right now. They have company reviews, and it's mostly in the tech industries. That's what I'm in, and that's what I've searched on there. But it's pretty transparent information from employees, and there's a forum, and people talk and chat. The other thing that's brought up there was the idea of the Al Capone theory of sexual harassment, which
tell
is,
me more.
yeah, right. I think that my friend Lee Honeywell, I think she is a writer on the paper. I'm pretty sure she definitely shared it with me, but it's this theory that those who are committing sexual harassment in the workplace are likely committing other types of offenses, right? It's these power and control based offenses. So you often see, we see law enforcement have high rates of domestic violence. It's power and control in their job and in their home. You see sexual harassment, people who have sexual harassment cases against them are often committing fraud or embezzlement or other types of offenses. And so I think it could be a really big market force, like you mentioned, of shining light on this, letting employees know, empowering them with the information, because they are often committing other types of offenses. And maybe you are a guy and you don't care so much about, hey, he has a sexual harassment case against him, or he has, something that you might think is minor in your opinion, and maybe you can't find details on it. We all know that, the top level charge is not the full story to anything. But you should definitely take a second look of just, hey, is this a power and control based offense? And therefore have some more concerns of what kind of person they could be, essentially.
A great point. That's a really amazing point. I've never thought of that.
But reflecting, you're now connecting some dots in your head, like,
Yeah. No, I
that guy.
really, really am. I'm gonna be thinking about this all night.